Hey y'all, welcome to your first year of drum lessons, week 25 drum pad edition. My name is Penny Larson, and I am really happy to have you with me today. If this is your first time here, I invite you to explore this playlist, Your First Year of Drum Lessons. This was originally designed as a first year of drum lessons, what it might be like if you were a dead beginner. Right? Like you had never picked up drumsticks before, we're starting from the beginning and we're going to go through a year of lessons. It's gradually turned into a little bit more of a sampler of what a first year of lessons might look like with me, kind of for like a beginner intermediate level. So if you're just starting out, you can still follow this playlist. Some of the lessons might be a little frustrating and lessons that maybe you need to put aside and come back to later. Likewise, if you're more of an intermediate or even an advanced player, a lot of these lessons might be, someone used the term remedial, right? Some of these lessons are going to be remedial, but I'd like to think at least some of them might be interesting and give you different ways of thinking of things that you may already know. So with that said, like I say, please explore the playlist, subscribe, and check out some other videos. And if it is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for finding my channel. What we do on the drum pad lessons is hand development stuff, talk about technique. In terms of hand technique, we talk about, we've been doing some marches, we've been doing some rudimental stuff, and that's going to continue. On Fridays, we do drum set lessons, and tune in Friday to see what that's about. Today, we're just going to do two things, which are going to introduce new ways of thinking about things we've already done. We're also going to have a little bit of a twist ending towards the end of the lesson, and I'll explain that when we get there. The first thing we're going to talk about today are Paratriplets. And Paratriplets is just a fancy way to say Paradiddles played as triplets. So we've got a handout like we do. This will be available down below in the doobly-doo as a PDF. I encourage you to download this and keep it on your tablet or computer, or if you're old school like me, print it out and throw it up on your music stand. What we're going to do, we have a check pattern up at the top. We're in 12/8, so we're going to feel triplets. We're going to do this one with the metronome. The second line is single paradiddles, and we'll talk about counting as we go through these. The third line is double paradiddles, which should be actually pretty easy as triplets because double paradiddles are groups of 6 notes, right? And then we've got triple paradiddles, which takes 2 lines to get 4 times through our triple paradiddles. That's not right, it's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 6 times through our triple paradiddles. And then down at the bottom 2 lines, we've got Paradiddle Diddles. And like double paradiddles, those should be pretty easy because they're groups of 6. The Paradiddle Diddles especially, we're going to, when we get there, we'll talk about the difference between feeling them kind of in 4/4 as a sextuplet, so on the beat as 16th note triplets, and in this way too, as just as straight out triplets. We're also we'll talk briefly about what this would sound like in 4/4, how these paradiddles work in 4/4 versus 12/8. So a thing that isn't on the worksheet, but I will probably demonstrate, is going back and forth between 4/4 and 12/8 with each pattern. And that'll be a different number of measures of each, but just so you can hear the difference. I'm going to skip the check pattern at first. We'll do the whole thing towards the end, and then I'll play the check pattern for you. But for now, let's jump into single paradiddles as triplets, right? So I've got paradiddle, paradiddle. Okay, well, that doesn't really help. I've got to think of them as 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Okay, again, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So each measure has 3 triplets, 3 paradiddles. And the only really tricky one to me is the first one, where we're breaking up the diddle. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, right? So then 3 triplet, 3 triplet, that's a diddle of the second paradiddle. And then 4 triplet, that's the last paradiddle. But because there's only 3, we're going to do a 2-bar pattern so we can turn it around and get back to our right hand. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 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 1. It's just a neat way to change up paradiddles. I'm going to throw on the metronome, and this one I'll show you. So I'll do it in 4/4, and then I'll do it, the metronome will be in 4/4 the whole time. But I'll do it as 16th notes and then as 8th note triplets. So the Parrot Triplets will be slower than the 16th notes, right? And I'm going to do 4. I'll just do 1 bar. No, I'll do 2 measures of 16th note paradiddles and then 2 bars of triplet paradiddles, Parrot Triplets, which means I'm going to do 8 paradiddles as 16th notes and 6 as 8th note triplets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Paradiddle, 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 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, paradiddle, 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 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. Okay, so see how the Parrot Triplets go against the beat in kind of a confusing way. It's worth trying to count them both ways, right? So first I'll count them as triplets, and then I'll shift to saying paradiddles, but I'll still keep that triplet rhythm. 2, 3, 4, paradiddle. Sorry. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, paradiddle, 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 paradiddle. Bonus points if you can tell me what polyrhythm we're doing. If you think about it, right, I'm creating I'm not really thinking about the paradiddles as having accents right now, but if I accent the paradiddle, 2, 3, 4, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, paradiddle, 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 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3. So I gave you a dead giveaway hint, right? Think about what time signature in, how many was I just counting? 1, 2, 3, right? So what polyrhythm is that? Down below, tell me. Okay, so that's the singles. We'll do the doubles real quick because, like I say, the doubles are super easy. There's 2 double paradiddles per measure, right? Because it's 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, right? Para, paradiddle, para, paradiddle, para, paradiddle, para, paradiddle, tap. Okay, so then let's go back and forth between 16th note double paradiddles. So how many measures does it take the double paradiddle as 16th notes to turn around? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 eana, 4 eana, paradiddle. So it was 3 bars, right? Here we go. Para, paradiddle, 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 pat. Right? So I'm going to do 3 bars of double paradiddles, and then as 16th notes, and then 2 bars as triplets. And then repeat that loop. 2, 3, 4. Okay, I really like this going back and forth between the 16th notes and the 8th note triplets as a way to just really make sure that that you're getting the paradiddle sticking with the triplets. It can be a little tricky, right? And so don't be afraid to do it slower. You can do it faster if you want, right? Like we've talked about. So we're at 90 now. I don't know. Let's be silly. We'll come back down to 90 in a sec. But let's try the double paradiddles at 120. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so you can take it all over the place tempo-wise. I'm keeping this pretty on the mellow side just so you can see what's going on, but I mean, paradiddles, especially Paratriplets, we could push that probably over 200 beats a minute, right? Paradiddles in general, I think you should have your paradiddles as 16th notes approaching 200 beats per minute, if not over, right? That's my goal is 240, which I've kind of fallen off of a little bit. I'm more around 220 nowadays. But my goal is 240. That's where I think my paradiddles should be for me to feel like good about myself, right? Okay, so triple Paratriplets. So now we need 4 measures to get all the way around. So the first thing I'll do is play the triple Paratriplet just with the 8th notes. Oh, and we're going to go back down to 90. Okay. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Para, para, paradiddle. 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 Pa. Right, so 4 bars of kind of hanging on. This pattern really goes against the grain, right? And we're crossing bar lines and we're crossing beats. So 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, para, para, paradiddle, 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 tap. Phew, right? I'm definitely holding on for dear life when I play these. These ones are confusing, right? So don't be afraid to take some time to get comfortable with this pattern. Let's try this one with 16th notes. And again, the 16th notes, I don't have those written in. We've done 16th note based paradiddles a bunch. I'm kind of doing this. You can do this part of the exercise if you want or not. Kind of not a bad idea. But I just want to show you how they sound different, right? So in context. Parrot triplets are really cool. Like I said a second ago, right? Parrot triplets, I think you can get them over 200 beats per minute kind of easily because they're 8th note triplets, right? So 200 beats per minute isn't that scary when we're talking 8th note triplets instead of 16th notes. So, so at higher tempos, Parrot triplets can be cool. But also, if you think about, you know, blues and jazz and these more triplet shuffle-based styles of music, if you have these alternate stickings built into your hands for stuff like paradiddles, well, super cool, right? You suddenly can apply, you don't have to be playing a jazz ride pattern and play a 16th note based paradiddle. You can, but you don't have to, right? Because it's the only way you know how to play a paradiddle. Suddenly you can whip out a triplet paradiddle and make everybody go, ooh, look at that. That's cool. What's that? Okay, so just different ways to interpret stuff. One of the things we've done over the last few months is kind of do like a sampler, and we've kind of run through all the rudiments, and you know, I've said, hey, here's this rudiment, here's this rudiment, here's this rudiment. And we've definitely already done some variations with the paradiddles, and honestly, we'll probably do some more. But one of the things I want to do in our second half of the year is take a little bit deeper dive pretty much into all of the rudiments, give every rudiment at least its own exercise, you know, and maybe some of them will get lumped together, but let's really talk about what these rudiments are for and how we can use them, right? Both on the pad for, you know, marches or classical music on the snare drum, but also for stuff on the drum set. Okay, so it only takes me one measure to do triple paradiddles as 16th notes, right? Because they're 8 notes long, and 8 is half of 16. But let's do 2 measures. So we'll do para para paradiddle, 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 para, into the triplets. So we'll have 2 measures of 16th notes and 4 measures of triplets. 1, 2, 3 E and a 4 E and a para para paradiddle, 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 tap. Yikes. Okay, so that going back and forth is really, it really makes you think about the paradiddle as like as a shape, as a sticking, not just as a rhythm. I love doing stuff like this. This is super fun. It's been a long time since I've messed around with Paratriplets, but it's like, it's one of those things that's really fun to teach people, but I haven't shed them too much. So a difference between these lessons and when I'm like teaching, you know, someone in person is I might demonstrate something like a little bit, but you know, if they get it, if they're picking up what I'm putting down, I tend not to play too much, right? I let them figure stuff out by reading. I try not to play because I kind of don't want them to hear how it sounds. I want them to have to figure it out from reading. So y'all are seeing a lot more of me playing than you might if you were actually in a room with me. You would be doing all the playing and I would be doing all the kibitzing. In this environment, I'm doing all the playing and you get to do the kibitzing. Okay, so the last 2, we're going to breeze through these because these are simple. First, we're doing right paradiddle diddle triplets and left paradiddle diddle triplets. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle, and 2, 3, 4. Paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle. And so paradiddle diddles as 16th notes cross the bar kind of the same way double paradiddles do. A thing that I like to do a lot is use paradiddle diddles as 16th note triplets, right? So instead of 8th note triplets, 4, 2, diggada 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 diggada. Right, so this one I'm not even going to play as 16th notes for you, because it's rhythmically it's the same as number 3. So if you're feeling so inclined, you can. But for me, almost I feel like if you wanted to do something extra, you could go back and forth between 16th note triplets and 8th note triplets. Okay, so now let's play the whole thing down. There are repeats written in strategic places, and that is because you can either, work on each line or play each line twice and then go on, right? So you might want to, probably not number 1, right, because that's just our check pattern, but you might want to work on number 2 over and over again. So just repeat number 2. Or we can do the whole thing, and like I say, I'm going to repeat each line as I go, and then when I get to the bottom, I'll repeat all the way back up to the top. I'm going to speed this up a teeny bit. Let's try it at 110, and I'll play it a couple times. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Paradiddle, 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 diddle, 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 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, paradiddle, 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 diddle, 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 tap. Okay, yeah. Woo, it's really easy to get lost there, especially for me in the triple paradiddle. So the check pattern is nice, it's a check pattern, and then the single paradiddle, single paratriplet, I have to pay attention a bit. The double paratriplet comes along and I'm like, and the triple paratriplet comes along and I'm like, oh my, this is tricky. And then the paradiddle diddle triplets come in and it's like, oh, thank goodness, right? And then we're back to the check pattern. But yeah, that triple paradiddle pattern, you really have to stay focused on both the triplet feel, but then also the paradiddle shape, right? The paradiddle, paradiddle as triplets. And you're crossing the beats so much that there's a lot to think about all at once, right? So make sure you're staying focused. Like I say, this is not an exercise that I play a ton, but I think it's fun. The single Paratriplets I use semi-regularly, right? The double Paratriplets and the Paradiddle Diddle triplets, we all use those, right? I mean, they're groups of 6 notes. Of course, we play them as triplets. The triple Paratriplet is just messed up and weird, right? So kind of work on that as a brain teaser. Definitely do the back and forth 16th note with that one, because woo, that'll make you think, right? Okay. So we're only going to do one other exercise today, because like even though we're doing things we've done before, we're kind of looking at them from a very different perspective. So the other exercise is, I bet it has a name. This is one, say it with me, that I learned when I was in drum corps. It's in 13/16 time signature, okay? Well, so what the heck does that mean, right? Remember what time signatures tell us. The top number is how many beats in a bar, and the bottom number is what kind of note is getting the count or beat, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, right? So if you're going to count to 13, which I'm going to tell you right off the bat, don't. But if you do, be sure to figure out 1-syllable versions of all those numbers, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so far we're good. Sev, N. So we have to just say sev. Sev, 8, 9, 10. Good. 11. Okay, so we just say E for 11. 12, 13. So for 13, usually I just say thir. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, L or E. Forgetting my own counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, E, 12, thir. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, E, 12, thir. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, L, E. I think I say L for 11. That's my problem. I told you guys wrong. L, 12, thir. L, 12, thir. L, 12, thir. But, as I said, we're not doing that. Don't do that. Look, it's a 3, a 3, a 3, and a 4. 3, 6, 9, 13. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so on. Okay? So, like the last exercise at the top, we've got a check pattern. And check pattern just means it's kind of home base. This is like the basic version of the pattern. And then this is a substitution pattern. We talked with the last exercise about how I'm gonna you know, bring rudiments back just because we introduced them all and looked at them. I want us to be able to actually use them. So we're gonna bring the rudiments back and play them. So we're gonna substitute these accents with rudiments. The second line, we've got drags, and then tap drags, and then flams, and then flam drags, and then cheese, and then we've got a turnaround, which is how we're going to finish up and get back to the top. But not only drags, tap drags, flams, flam drags, cheese, we can throw other rudiments in here too, and we'll talk about that. So first, let's do the accent pattern. We're not going to use the metronome because it's 13/16 for a while, and then it's 4/4. So I apologize, I didn't take the time to program out a metronome map for us for this. But I think you don't need the metronome to kind of hear the beat. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wait, what happened? I'm on my left hand for the second measure. So part of the reason this is 13 is so we can change up hands. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. Okay, so play that pattern until you can play that pattern comfortably. Literally, I've been playing that pattern for, let's say, 35 years. And I started in drum corps when I was -10. So, God, that still would make me old. So yeah, just get comfortable with that pattern, right? 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. And then once you can do that, we're going to sub those accents. And the first thing we're going to do is drags. And so every accent, I'm just going to play a double. Right? And so I think I'm accenting the first note of the double. As we play this up to speed, you know, the double is kind of blur together, and you're going to end up accenting both notes of the double. Don't fret about that too much. Think about it a little, right? But in my experience, if you're trying to do that, by the time you speed it up, it doesn't sound separated like that anyway. So at a slower tempo, don't freak. I don't want to tell you to not separate the accent. I don't, but don't fret too much, because seriously, as you speed up, you're just not going to be able to separate that accent out, and it sounds fine. Just kind of naturally falling into that spot, right? The second note isn't quite as loud as the first one, but it's louder than the other notes. So it's kind of almost like a half accent in this context. So next I'm going to do tap drags. So now the accent is still there, but now I'm going to do a double after the accent. Right? Okay, so those two should be not too bad. Next, this is when you'll know if your flams have been coming along. We're going to throw in flams. Right? Try and make sure your flams still have that nice chunky sound that we've been going for. Next, flam drags, which are the same as the tap drags but with a flam. And try and keep that interpretation the same as it is with the tap drags. It's easy to let flam drags turn into, we talked about this when we introduced flam drags, it's easy to let them turn into more of like a triplet feel. And that's cool sometimes. Try to keep that out of here, okay? The last variation that I've written is a hybrid rudiment called cheese. And cheese is, and it's like the herta, it's one of the most common most well-known of the hybrid rudiments. All it is a drag and a flam at the same time. It's interesting to me that this wasn't part of the original set of rudiments because it seems pretty obvious when you think about it. So instead of it being a flam and then a drag, it's a flam and a drag like on top of each other. So this high hand of the flam is going to do the drag, right? And so that's cheese, right? And it's usually played as triplets like that. But you can totally use it as more of a 16th note feel. Okay, it's the same thing if you wanted to put a flam at the beginning of a roll. That would be like starting the roll with cheese, right? And the flam there, the flam on top of the drag, does the same thing that the flam does when it's by itself. It just makes the drag thicker and chunkier, right? Okay, so here's how cheese sounds in the 13/16 grid. Okay, so we've got this 13/16 pattern. We could put some other rudiments in here too, right? I don't want to tell you what other variations we could do. I would love it if you guys came up with some variations of your own. It would blow my mind if you came up with your own variations and, like, you know, either wrote them out or played a video, made a video and showed me the video. That would be super cool, right? There are some other versions. I remember one specifically that we did that I almost kind of want to tell you about, but I'm not gonna, because there. Maybe I'll do a video in a few days where I play the whole exercise, like on a snare drum or something, and the other variation I can think of was kind of what we did right before we did the turnaround. So the turnaround goes back to 4/4, and I've got 2 drags, and then I'm switching hands for 2 drags. Okay, so 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and 16th note triplets on 4 triplet and triplet 1, and then a 13-stroke roll to beat 3, and then we've got a 1-beat rest, and we go back to the top. So the turnaround is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Right? Okay. So let's try it from the top. 1. I'm going to count us in 4 because 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I'll count us in 13. I'm going to count the groups of 3 and 4, and I'll count that twice. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay. I gave away one of the extra ones. When I did cheese, I played like Flam 5s. So there's another one. And there's a few others too that I know off the top of my head. And I bet there's some others too. I'm going to play this a little bit faster for you a few times just so you can kind of see what it feels like. What it feels like where I play it, right? So this to me is very much just this is a hand kind of get your, when I need to get my hands moving quickly, I'll play something like this, you know, a few times, moderately quick, right? Because I can burn through a bunch of rudiments, I can get a bunch of different sticking patterns, and it's all within one exercise. And there's something very cool about playing in 13/16. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. No, that's not even fast enough. Bum, 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 bum. Whew. All right, Flam Drags at that tempo are a little bit of a workout. Let me do it another couple times for you. Teeny bit slower. 2, 3. So I'm going to count in 4. I lied. Okay, so like I say, this is just a really fun one to get your hands moving quickly, right? This pattern can work for any rudiment that you can fit in there, right? If I could do Flam 5-stroke rolls, I could do regular 5-stroke rolls too. I could probably maybe do some other thing with rolls. That might be a hint to the one I'm not telling you, maybe. So it's just really versatile, and it's a nice way to plug in some of these rudiments that we've been working on and keep things interesting while giving yourself a little bit of a challenge too. Okay, so we're going to leave it with those 2 exercises this week, but I mentioned at the beginning that this week was going to be a little different, and there's a little bit of a surprise. So down below, there's going to be a reading review. And like I mentioned earlier, one of the differences with these lessons versus if, you know, you and I were in the same room is that I'm doing all the playing and you're doing the watching and hopefully absorbing and learning, but I'm not watching you play, okay? Which means that, you know, you could be totally blowing off these worksheets and just listening to me play and learning these exercises just from watching me play. Not my favorite thing in the world, but if that's the approach you're taking, that's the approach you're taking. This week we're going to do something a little different. We're going to have this reading review. We're going to go over it next time, okay? But I want you to practice this between now and next time. So try and figure these out. They're all patterns that should make sense. If these don't make sense to you, that means you missed something along the way and you should do some reviewing. There's flams, there's different length rolls, and there's different types of 16th notes and 16th rests and eighth and quarter, of course. But I wrote these to be awkward patterns, okay? And they're 2-bar patterns, which in the past we've been doing 1-bar patterns. So try to spend some time working on these. Like our other sheets, this will be down below as a PDF, right? So please download, or, well, no, you have to download first, and then either look at it on your tablet or your laptop or your phone if you do a lot of pinch zooming, or print it out, right? But please try and go over this, because this will be a good way for you to check in on how you're really doing with reading. One of the things that is very important to me for students generally is reading, and not letting reading, get away from a student. It's very easy to just get caught up in, I can hear how it sounds, I can watch someone play it, so I know how to play it. That is awesome. Until you get into a setting where no one's going to demonstrate anything for you, they're just going to hand you a sheet of music, and you need to be able to decipher that sheet of music. Okay? And if you let your playing get too far ahead of your reading, it's very difficult for your reading ever to catch up. Okay? So seriously, please take the time to go over this. Even if you don't master it, at least look at it and play through the examples. See if you can count them. Make sure they make sense, right? And next week we'll go over that sheet. And then if you've gotten any places where you've gotten stumped, we'll work those out next week. And again, I'm not going to know where you got stumped, so we'll just press on. I will teach these as if they're new, kind of, but hopefully you will have a head start on them. That's going to wrap it up for today. Only 2 exercises and our review, but lots of head stuff to think about, right? We've got those weird paratriplets, especially the triple paratriplets, and then the 13, 16. Once you catch the feel of that, once you catch that feel, it's easy. You never have to count it again. But until you catch that feel, it's tricky, right? To kind of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And on top of that, you've got to be changing what rudiments you're doing. So play the check pattern enough that it just becomes comfortable, right? Don't try and rush through the 13, 16 grid. Play with it. Let that pattern get into your hands, and then just maybe, oh maybe, we might actually take something from that over to the drum set. Maybe, oh maybe. Spoiler. Okay, so that's going to wrap things up for today. I really appreciate y'all being with me. I will see you Friday for our drum set lesson. If you have any questions, remember, please feel free, leave them down below in the comment section. Please like and subscribe, the YouTube thing. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, at Penny Larson Drums. Yep, and I will see you Friday. I'm trying to think of some cool name for all you guys. Like, I don't know if you know Philip DeFranco. It's kind of like basically a YouTube news show, kind of, who publishes most weekdays. And he calls his viewers his beautiful bastards. And yeah, trying to think of something to call y'all, because just calling all y'all, I mean, it's all right, but it doesn't make it special, and y'all are special. So I figure y'all should have a name. So we'll work on that, right? If you have any ideas, shoot them down below too. Okay. I love you guys a lot. I will see you Friday for our drum set lesson. Woohoo! All right. Take it easy, guys. Bye.